Hey, what's up? We're here to talk about my last 3 months of reading. I'm going to do a brief 30-second review of each book, what star rating it was, and why you should read it if you like that sort of book. All right, the first book, if you can't guess from what's on the cover here, the A, give you 5 seconds to guess it. Did you guess it? The Scarlet Letter. I read this. I never read this in high school. A lot of people read it in high school. The Scarlet Letter is about Hester Prynne and her daughter Pearl. Hester commits adultery, as the A suggests, and is marked with the letter A, and also has a daughter. You read this book if, first off, let me give it a rating. 4 stars. Read this book if you like symbolism, if you just like classic literature, if you like questions of religion, honestly, questions of the interaction between church and state. This book has so much to it. It's honestly a quick read. I would say if you were forced to read this in high school, give it another shot. The Scarlet Letter, 4-star book, classic. So the next books be Red Rising and Golden Sun. Let's do each book. Red Rising, 4 stars. This is the classic page turner. This book is just so easy to read. If you're in a reading slump, Red Rising is for you. It's so easy just to go on to the next page, the next chapter, and before you know it, the book is done. I will say that going into this, every guy book YouTuber was like, Red Rising is this, Red Rising's gonna change your life. You change your brain chemistry. That wasn't it for me. It was good. It's 4 stars. Great read. If you're into sci-fi, you're into kind of the Star Wars type, Savior of the Galaxy, maybe a little bit of Dune mixed in there. Red Rising is good. Now, I also read the next book, which if Red Rising got hype, Golden Sun got even more hype. And maybe that's what dampened this a little bit for me. I was ready for this to be one of the best books I've ever read. For me, it's 3 stars. If you like everything you liked about Red Rising, Golden Sun doubles down on all of it. Still a pretty good book. My issue with it, a little too much action, not enough undergirding the action. So I'm going to read Morning Star, which kind of completes the Red Rising trilogy. But these books for me average out at about a 3.5. But I understand that I think for some people they may be 5, maybe even 6-star books. But for me, I was hoping for a little more substance out of Golden Sun. And it's a little Game of Thrones-esque. And I think if I hadn't read Game of Thrones first, maybe I would think differently of it. All right, the next one's a little embarrassing. It's something I read because it's one of my wife's childhood favorites, and that is Running Out of Time by Margaret Peterson Haddix. This book was honestly pretty good for a short little early reader book. I think I'll give it 3 stars, really like 3.5 stars for how much it packed in these little pages, and the text isn't exactly small. So short, quick little story. I think if you like kind of I wouldn't call it dystopian, but it's kind of torn between 2 worlds, maybe like a time-crossing narrative. It's honestly a little bit like the movie The Village, if you've ever seen that. Not to give too much away, but if you're looking for just like, if you like sometimes just checking out an early reader, super simple, almost like a children's book read, Running Out of Time is worth your time. Okay, next up we got a Christian book on the list by one of my favorite Christian authors, which is John Mark Comer's Practicing the Way. This book for me is a solid 5 stars. Now, I don't agree with all of John Mark Comer's theology. I'm not ready to give all the reasons and all of the examples of why, but suffice to say, John Mark Comer, I think the guy's a genius. I think he reads a lot. I think he's well studied. I think he is a master of condensing vast ideas into dense, quick, understandable sentences. And Practicing the Way, really, I've read a lot of his books. I think it's his magnum opus. There's nothing in here to disagree with. This is just a book about what it means to follow Jesus and love Jesus. So I think read this if you are a Christian or if you aren't, and you're wondering, what does it mean to follow God? What did Jesus mean when he said, follow me? What did the disciples think about? What was the way before it was known as Christianity? Practicing the way. Next, we have me finishing up another, I guess you'd call this early reader series, which is Percy Jackson's The Last Olympians, the last book in the original Percy Jackson series. Listen, y'all, I have read Paradise Lost. I've read Harry Potter. I've read Moby Dick, The Scarlet Letter, The Odyssey, The Iliad, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I don't care what you say. Percy Jackson books are great books. They're just so much fun. I read them when I was a kid and they came out. I read them as a teenager, a young adult, and I'm reading them now as a 26-year-old. And every single time I read them, I love them. They're not the week-long read they once were for me. They're like little one-day read tastes for me, a couple days if if I'm not binge reading. But man, if you are a fan of Greek mythology, but you don't want to read 600 pages of translated ancient Greek, if you are a fan of fantasy, if you're a fan of YA or just early reader books, Percy Jackson is just a must read. This is a 5-star for me, by the way. I love The Last Olympian. I love the Percy Jackson series. Rick Riordan, thank you. The next books are pretty thick, and they're not stacked in the order that I read them, but let's go through them. They're all the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. Eye of the Bedlam Bride, Butcher's Masquerade, and This Inevitable Ruin. That's a few thousand pages of reading right there. And if you can see on the bookshelf behind me, I'd already read a few thousand pages to get there, but it almost doubles once you get onto the 5th book. These books, I think for me, are 4-star, 4-star, 5-star. On average, like 4.5 stars for this series. You'll love these if you love irreverent humor, but with a heart. If you like comedy movies that have moments of seriousness, if you like a mixture of heart-pounding action with just self-aware humor of the situation, if you're into dark humor, if you're into sci-fi, if you're into, honestly, if you like the Hunger Games type plot, these books are for you. They're also written in a lit RPG fashion, which is kind of like reading a video game. Don't let that turn you off though, because these books have a lot of heart, a lot of humor, a lot of great action, political intrigue. This is a great series. I think anyone who's into fantasy, anyone who's into sci-fi would love Dungeon Crawler Carl. 4.5 stars on average. All right, the last book, and I am sorry to say the least. The God of the Woods. I don't know if I'm going to get hate for this. What do I say about this book? I'm going to give it like 2.5 stars. The God of the Woods, man, I picked this up and I thought it'll be a quick vacation read. Everyone loves it. Can't go wrong. Maybe it's just not for me. I think that okay, let's start with the positives. Some of the best character writing I've ever read. If you're someone who loves characters, you're like, I read the book for the characters. I could care less about the plot. What I want is a complex, well-written, believable character in a book. God of the Woods, you'll eat this up because the characters really are believable. They really are fleshed out. Liz Moore writes these characters in a way that it feels like if you drove up to New York right now, you could meet them. Now, for me, where the wheels fall off is you then have to put those characters in a compelling plot. A plot that makes sense, a plot that I feel satisfied for having read. It kind of feels like the plot was just a vehicle to write more about the characters. For me, I'm a plot guy. I don't mind maybe archetype or thin characters if the plot that they're in really shines and really comes through. Obviously, the best books have both, but I'm going to lean plot more than character, I think. So, The God of the Woods, I think, still definitely worth a read if you're not me. And you like characters maybe a little bit more than the plot. I think beautiful language, beautiful writing, pretty interesting story, but at the end of the day, 50%, 5 out of 10, 2.5. All right, that's it. That's all the books since in May and June, and I'll be back for an update in July. Let me know if you want any more in-depth reviews of each of these books. Let me know if there's any books that you'd like me to read or review, and let me know what you've been reading in the month of July, in the month of May, and the month of June. That was out of order, but c'est la vie.